Alright, so welcome to this lesson, and in this lesson we are going to have a walkthrough and the text and some of the examples like the hidden files and the file permissions of the Linux file. So anytime you are working on the Linux operating system or Kali Linux as we are using in this course, you will always require to deal with the file permissions and the hidden files sometimes. So this lesson is basically for both of the cases, and at last we will also see some of the useful commands that will also be facing at all the time when you are going to work on the Kali Linux. Alright, so going to start, I am going to download one file here so that you will also know that how to clone a file from the GitHub, because most of the tools that you are going to download for this course or any course for the hacking or the penetration testing, you will be going to mostly on the GitHub platform. So here it is the tool, that is the harvester, meaning that this actually the tool that harvests the email addresses and open source intelligence tool that finds all the open source intelligence or information available over the internet. Alright, so this is the website github.com, Laramis, and the harvester. We don't need to do anything with the URL. Here we can see this is the code. We can see this is HTTPS or GitHub CLI. We can also use this command directly on the command line terminal, or simply copy this URL here and move back to our terminal. And here we can see what we need to do, or what the command we had required is here, git clone, and the same URL that we copied. So here it is. This is for the harvester. Simply hit enter and it will be cloning directly from the GitHub repositories. Once it is done, you will see that ls and the harvester. So as of now this is installed. I mean to say this is cloned from the GitHub repositories, and it is now onto our system. Now we are required to deal with that. So let's see the file content of that directory, that is the harvester. So this way we can see all of the file contents, and here you can see the setup that we are required to run before going to work on this tool, as this tool might also be installed by default in the Kali Linux. Let me check it out first. Alright, so this tool is available and we can run that. Alright, so let me get the help from there in order to get all of the commands. Alright, so this tool, this command is actually deprecated and we need to use another later here in this case. And as per the assumption, this might be installed. Yeah, this is exactly installed, pre-installed inside the Kali Linux. We don't need to install. But for this command, all of the hidden files and the file permissions to show, we are required to download any tool. You can download any set of tools, so you can also work on the already installed tools as well. So for ease of use, I am using this. So now let's see the file permissions of the recently downloaded tool, the harvester. So the command will be A and L with the directory name, and now it will show up everything required for the every information, every piece of information related to that directory and the files. So here we can see, now let's start from the first line. As we can see, this is the first letter, that is D, meaning that this is the directory. And at third line we can see this is minus, meaning that this is a file. And as simple, we can see this is a file. Later we will talk about this dot, that is the hidden file actually, and you will also be dealing with, because some of the tools like the YPT use the report file after generation to make it hidden. I don't know why, what is the reason behind the scene, but this is the real scenario. Basically, there are three types of permissions, that is the read, write and execute. So the line we can see here is the read, write and execute. This is the all these three letters that says read, write and executable permission is there for the this user on this host machine. So this is actually the name. We can see this one. If this will be the root, then there will be root here and the host name available on which you are working right now. So this is for the file permissions. Now how you can change the file permissions of a certain directory or the certain tool, because most of the time you are going to install any tool, you will require to change the mode of the file permissions to read from the read to write and execute. So how this actually happens, anything you are required, you will be needed to know exactly what the file permissions, and this is really a vast topic to mention here, that you need to understand that Linux file permissions. So at last we will see that what the Linux file permissions and how really vast this topic is. Alright, so now let's start with changing the file permissions to permission denied and to full access. So for example, the command is we will use the minus here to permission denied, and the file will be the same, the harvester. And now let's see the file content. We can see this is permission denied because we have used all the three file permissions, read, write and execute. That is the highest number in the segment, that is the 777, meaning that it will be read, write and execute for all these three options. But as I have used the minus, meaning that it have not granted read, write, execute permissions for that directory. Now let's change it and remove the minus here. We can also use the arrow key, upper arrow key, to navigate to the previously typed command, so you don't need to type once again and again. Now it has been changed. Now let's type it to see. We can see now there is nothing to do with that. Now let's see the file permissions inside this harvester. So al with ls command, and here we can see all the read, write, executable, and all these are for this content and this directory. And this is just for the changing the file permissions to permission denied to granting access for a user. In most of the cases, and sometimes as well, you will also require the sudo command to get the root access before changing that and using that command. But not always the case. It is depending on the files and the permissions that it have previously granted. So let's clear it first. Now this is for changing mode. So what to do in simple nutshell: chmod 777. You can also use 744, 755 and so on, because high is the number, high is the permission that will be given to that particular file. So I always use 777 and the file name. So in this case here, file name, and that's all. Hit enter. Now moving to the hidden files that is actually inside the Linux operating systems. So using the lsal, we will see this is the dot that says this file, this directory is hidden. As we can see, this is a directory, and let's create some of the files using the hidden command. So we can see there is nothing file here, so that it is says. But once we are going to use the lsal, it will show everything from the hidden to available, and all hidden files are marked with a single dot. So whenever you are going to create a file, like if I am going to create a file in this case, suppose if I am using the command once again, like the echo and the file name hello world, and I am redirecting it to a file with the name that starts with dot, and the file name is hello.txt. It will be default hidden. Using the ls command, we can't see that, but it is exactly available and it is hidden. So going to ls l, we can see that somewhere it will be here. This is the hello.txt. Alright, so this is just for the hidden directories and files. Moving to the graphical user interface, we can also find that using the URL bar here. Just put the dot here and it will show everything that have the hidden properties and the hidden files and directories. That way we can also find it out. But using the command line is the easiest way and super easy to do that and achieve that task. Let me clear it once again. Now moving to the some more commands that you will also require some of the times, because using the once again the example of the harvester tool here, as if I want to delete this rmdir and the harvester, it will not be deleted because this directory is not empty, and that is the reason it says delete the content first and then delete the directory. But we can also force it using the rm command and rf. So let's see what is this one first using the help command. So the f is used for the forcing, ignore non-existent files and arguments, never prompt before removal, and r is used for recursive and remove directories and their file contents recursively. So these two, f and r, is used for that. We can also use the v that will show everything that is what happening inside deleting and at the time of deleting a deletion, that file and directories. Let's try it out once again. So I'm going to use the delete rm and using the rf and then use the directory name here. Remember that this is directory name, not the file to remove, as we are forcing it out to delete everything inside that directory and file contents, and after that directory is too, it will be used rm and switch rf. We can also use v, that is the verbose, and it will show every removal of any files. Hit enter and we can see this is removed, removed, removed. But before using the rm command, it is recommended not to use before having a look on the file directories and the files under that directory, because it will not give you any prompt to stop that. As you can see, this is deleted and there is nothing to show up and it will not be stopped. This can't be undone. So just keep in mind. Now moving back to the file permissions and the resources to learn more deeply about the file permissions of a Linux machine. So here it is, Linux file permissions. That says discuss, tells you more bit deeply about the file systems in understanding and helping you out. You can find it too much useful for understanding and file permissions and granting the ownership, changing the ownership. And this is basically a good document here, we can say, that is most valuable. So it is recommended to read this first and understand the file permissions like the users, groups, and the all other users in the same machine, and the read write executable such as owner, group, and the user. So in that case, it will be much beneficial for you to understand file permissions and applying that for granting a file permissions in a positive way too. See you in the next lessons. Thank you.